Well, good evening everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly Model Railways. Today is all about news, plans and some new purchases. Oh, and don't forget, stick around to see the mill in its new place. Stay tuned and all will be revealed. Well, I have bought something new, obviously this Rail Adventure power car set, and the main power car is down there. You probably can't make it out, but this, I could not believe the price on the Hornby site. £217 Now, you're struggling to buy one single locomotive for not much less than that. So to have this and a dummy car as well, I thought I can't resist this, so I bought it. I fitted Hornby HM7000 decoders in both, downloaded the sound, it runs brilliantly, I can't fault it. The fans work, which is an absolute delight watching those going round, and I love it. It's absolutely great. I do need to replace the speakers in it. They do sound a bit naff. You've got built-in speakers in the back of these. I'm aware they're Mark II coaches. It will run freight most of the time, but I wanted to see what it looked like on a long train, so that's my longest train after the ABT. Now, some slightly more disappointing news. I've had 3 locomotives fail on me. I'll tell you all about each one. This one is Tamworth Castle. Yes, I know. I think this is a fantastic locomotive, but look at the rat's nest of wires that Hellion have put in there. Look at it. And I know DCC Kits did a number of changes here, but they were making the wires longer, so I'm not really going to blame them. But this, I mean, in 2022 when I bought this, that is totally unacceptable, considering Bachmann and Hornby and all the other manufacturers seem to be able to do it without all this rat's nest of wires. And so, anyway, what the situation is that when the locomotive is on the track, the sound works, the lights work in both directions, but the motor does not drive the train or the locomotive. So my first job was to take out the decoder, and that is a blanking plate, DC 12 volt blanking plate, and I put 12 volts directly to the motor. Now it was a bit grindy, but it just needed a little bit of oil on the bearings either side, and it runs as sweet as a nut now. I put the decoder on that testing board over there, no problem at all, and it runs the motor, as you can see on the board, no problem at all. So, which implies then that there is a break between somehow the DCC decoder and the motor terminals. Now, I put my own wires to the motor terminals, so it's possible there is a break in these wires there. It's possible that the wires have come out of that plug. It's possible that somehow in the heat and the cold, that plug has somehow become disjointed in some way, although it feels quite firm. Somewhere down the line, there is a break. So what I plan to do is order a 21-pin socket with solder pads and just rewire the whole locomotive, hardwire it and see how it goes from there. Secondly is Rocket. This is a sorry sight, it really is. Now, you might be aware, if you've got these, Hornby in their great wisdom had wires going across from the tender to the main locomotive, and of course, as they do, they break, or the soldered joints break. So what I decided to do was dismantle it. It looks worse than it is, I promise. There is a base keeper plate there, and I've soldered 2 red wires onto that base keeper plate, and the reason for that is because Hornby again chose to use all black. Don't know why. Even if they painted the black over the middle, it would help. So I've replaced those 2 wires, and I've replaced it right through to the socket. Now the problem I'm having, if I can get that to stay still long enough, that's the socket that you get coming out of the barrel on the back of rocket. And as I soldered the wires directly to those solder pads just there, there was a short on this, implying that some of those tabs are touching each other. Now, Susanna had an idea about sucking up the solder with a solder sucker, and I do have one of those, so I might try that and see if that helps. Otherwise, again, I've ordered a new, well, it's not exactly like this, but the same sort of thing, solder pad, and I can insert another DCC 6-pin decoder. So I'm hoping to get that working again, which I don't want it to be a static model. I want it running around the layout, which is the reason why I bought it. Anyway, next is that Peckett. Now, I've not really investigated it too much. So with 2 locomotives in bits at the moment, I don't want a third. So that will just have to sit there and wait. But it does mean that the cauldron wagons don't have anything to pull them at the moment. Now, the DCC decoder burnt out on this one, and I've got a feeling it's probably because maybe I had 1 too many cauldrons on the load. I don't know, but that's the situation. But my cauldron train is just there, which I think is a nice length, to be honest with you. But time will tell. If I can get this working again, that Peckett just there, it might be a case of buying a second Peckett and having them double-headed to pull that. Or it might mean getting a bigger locomotive, something maybe like a Q1, the Ugly Duckling type locomotive. Or if anybody else has got any other ideas what might have pulled the Chaldrons. I'm not going to be too picky about it, but it's got to be something with a bit of oomph to it. Right, so there we go then. So a bit of an update for you. The decoder sockets with solder pads have come. That's the 6-pin one from Hornby, and there is a 6-pin socket in there. You probably, you can just about make that out. Solder pads are on that side. There you go. That's come from there. And this one is the 21-pin socket with solder pads from Illuminated Models. So really glad to see they've not gone out of business. So that is a big relief. I was also thinking about maybe a lighting pack for the 66. So good to see that. Now, this one was for Rocket, and this is for the class 25, Helgen 25. Whether I get them repaired before the end of the video will remain to be seen. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens. Take care. Right, next up is this. I've bought this in response to a comment I had probably 2 weeks ago, and the person was absolutely right. So please forgive me, I've forgotten who you are, so ever so sorry about that. But basically it was saying that some clips where the speech was really quiet in comparison to background noise or whatever it might have been, and it wasn't possible to hear the voice. So I've bought this. Let's have a listen to the difference. Well, there's the product. I've taken obviously 2 items out. So I film on the iPhone, so you get this part here, which then plugs into the bottom of the iPhone, and you get 2 microphones with it, one of which I'm talking to you now through. It does have noise cancellation. So tell me what you think. Do you think that's going to be any better? People have given this one raving reviews. They're saying it's good as some of the more expensive ones. It wasn't, I wouldn't say it was cheap, but it wasn't massively expensive. That's what it is. And I got it from Amazon. So if you're interested and you've got a channel or something like that, then give it a try. See what you think. I'm not sponsored to say that. I'm not going to get anything from Boyer, but, worth a shot maybe.
to you. Okay, tell me what you reckon. Speak soon.
Well, as promised, I said I would show you the mill in situ, and I just want to thank everybody for your amazing comments. It was so lovely to read them all, and I just thank you for taking the time to say what you thought, and I was blown away by the comments. Absolutely amazing, so thank you so much. But anyway, I promised that I would show you the unit in position. So here we are, quite low down. You'll have to forgive all the stuff sort of up here, and obviously we've got the shelf where the DCC is. That's not going to change, but I've got old coats up there. So that's the way life is, isn't it? So there's the unit that way and that way. Okay, bear with. And coming up a bit higher. So I think when you look at it like that, it does look as if it's part of this scene. I mean, obviously this line here is a totally separate line, but I think it looks fine, to be honest with you. The whole scene does need some fettling and fitting. I mean, obviously, when you look at this here, there's a thundering great gap down there. It looks like the world has come to an end and it's all sliced apart. But, you know, it's neither here or there. These things can be easily sorted. I mean, it looks like that tunnel's not completely in position properly with that gap there. So I think I just need to move it back slightly and it should fit well. So there are some, you know, things I need to do. As I said before, many times I need to finish this off. The trees down here look awful now and they need to be redone, that sort of thing. And there needs to be some kind of screen put along here. And the catenary is falling over and it's all crooked. It just needs a bit of sorting out, a bit of love, if you like. What I will do with this section here is I think I will just pack out the foliage so it just touches the fence to hide the gaps, kind of like that, to be honest with you. So the foliage sort of creeps over the top and it does the hiding of that for me. I am going to leave that edge there and this, and I need to sort this out down the bottom, because when you see it from a distance, that all this mess of wires down here does look awful. So it just needs a bit of sorting out. So I'm going to leave this area and probably till I do the water pour, and then I will come back and sort out all these trees, put the perspex screen up, sort out this gap, the foliage just here, etc, etc, sort out this gap down there, and so that sort of thing. I've noticed there's one of these railings broken off, so obviously that needs to be glued back on. Again, small little details, but I can do that when I'm ready. Okay, moving on. I just thought I'd show you this scene from the other side of the layout, and as you can see, this looks a bit of a mess underneath here. So as I've started to use these black borders, it just makes sense if I can somehow hide all that mess, even if it means putting some kind of screen over it and paint that black. But again, I'll sort all that out when I come to do the water pour. Now, in the January video, I did say that I'm going to be doing Hadfield and Glossop, and they will be done hopefully this year. But the biggest area that is bugging me at the moment is this around here, where the HST is. So because there's no scenery, and I feel I'm short of filming locations, because you can appreciate I've got this area down there where the main line is, and also this area here going into Dinting, and I've also got the main line down there as it's running alongside the shed. But that is quite limited, and obviously the shed doesn't look great with the roof off, but that's not in this year's plan. but I do want to address this area here. And so if you've got any ideas, then please say. This is what I'm thinking at the moment. I do want to have a bank, very shallow bank, which probably rises by about a centimetre and a half. So that's very shallow and almost goes to flat, and then rises up as it goes towards this bridge over there. And similarly here. So the landforms either rise up. So maybe it might be a wall, a retaining wall, just inside there, because obviously I'm not going to have a lot of space. Now, the other part, which there's two more things which are putting a throw in the ointment, if you like. That's this line here, which will not be removed, because that is integral to how the layout works from the main line. Oh, if a train comes on this way, it goes round, off into the shed, back again, crossover, round that way, round and back into Piccadilly. So I'm not going to be removing that, but obviously I've got to incorporate it into the scenery somehow. So whether there is some kind of tunnel here, I don't know. Maybe it might be a walled tunnel. That may be a wall here, a wall here. Trains go into it. And so the bank might be quite steep and then shallow out as it goes around the corner. Now, the other thing, actually, there's two more. There's three things altogether. The other thing is this, the back scene there, because it just comes to a stop. And I don't want it to end like that. So my idea at the moment is that I continue it and then have it come down, 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 and almost disappear as it goes around that corner to an eventual stop, if it hasn't done so already, by that bridge. So it won't go any further than that bridge. And it can still slot on these brackets, with the idea that there could be on this side a tree line running around there to mask the other side, but this side be 3D printed relief buildings, kind of like that. That is the third version of that building, and the first two were made of card and they deteriorated quite quickly. So whereas that one, it's been there for well over a year, and although there's a mild bit of warping there, it still seems to be reasonably decent. So I'm quite happy with that. So I think the idea of 3D printing the buildings has worked. The other part is this area here, because obviously the back scene has got to cross this section. We've got the line coming out from Dinting, and there's a road where the two buses are. Okay. Now that will be painted on this side with some kind of trompe-l'oeil to give the impression that the road goes off into the distance. I can use the back scene, as I said before, and just paint the sky in as far as I can get, and then have the sky just sort of disappear. But if you've got any ideas how I can hide the hole in this back scene here, from the other side obviously, then please do say. My original thought is that there might be a couple of trees growing out the top of the bridge, which sort of create some kind of tree arch. So the trains will just disappear into a tree arch, and then you won't necessarily see the hole from that side. That might work, but again, if you've got any other thoughts, please say. Anyway, I'm going to leave the video there. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll catch you again very, very soon here on Piccadilly Model Railways. Take care of yourself. Bye for now.